Hi guys, Nitrosodium here. In a few months, it will be 2 years since I released Sinister Afterlife on itch, the first UE5 game I ever made public. I'll be honest, it's pretty rough to look at now. Default Unreal skyboxes, massively stretched out textures, ugly modelling work. Despite this, my small contingent of IRL fans still say that Sinister is my best work, even compared to my more recent projects which are far better in my opinion. So what do they like about it? Well, to be fair, the aesthetic itself is pretty good. This weird sea bathed in shades of turquoise, filled with unexplained machinery and reanimated skeletons. It's not really clear what time period any of this could be from. The first map, the dock, has a bit of a Davy Jones locker pirate theme, but beyond that it all falls apart. Lore-wise, this is the afterlife, where the god of death has fallen into a coma, causing the whole realm to warp in on itself and all of this. But this can't really excuse the fact that it's very rough on a technical level. So I got the idea to remake Sinister. Not the whole game, but just a small vertical slice. Oh, and I have a single rule. I'm not allowed to use any models I haven't made myself. I want to at least preserve a little bit of the original Sinister's blocky, polygonal art style. I'm not against using free assets, but the original Sinister was all my own work, for better and for worse, and so we might as well keep to that. UE5, hallowed be thy name. Deliver us from the false prophets of unity, where you gotta make the movement code yourself and Z goes forward. Ugh, disgusting. Okay, so what am I actually going to make here? To start off with, I'm going to add an interaction system with line traces, alongside the ability to run with shift and crouch with control. All basic first person stuff you'd expect from a horror walking sim like Sinister. The code itself is fairly simple. Running is just a flat increase in movement speed, and then for the crouch it decreases the movement speed a little and also shortens the player's height. And to prevent the player from zipping around while crouched, I added a boolean so they can only do one at a time. Now I also want to give the player a lantern like my favourite horror game Amnesia, but as the rule states, I've got to make it myself. Wait, no, come on, it's not that bad, it's not that bad, it's not that bad, I could have been using Magical Voxel. Yes, I'm using Maya. Yes, future employers, I know how to use Maya. It's the industry standard, despite its outdated UI, tendency to freeze if presented with more than 20 objects at once, and yearly subscription that could be better spent on a new car. But I have access to it, and I'm better with Maya than Blender, so for a small project like this, why not? Along with the lantern on its own, I'm going to make a very ugly blocky hand to hold it. Protagonist's a ghoul or something, yeah, that's why, definitely. I did toy with trying to make him a skeleton and giving him a bony arm to boot, but it didn't quite look right, so I've decided that the player is going to be a pair of disembodied hands, like a Northern Journey or Madness Combat. The colours on them are just placeholders. I'll apply textures in UE5 for the sake of ease. It took me a few minutes of scrolling through Fab to get some free textures I like the look of. I stuck the model in the player's viewport and added some code so it would appear or disappear when F is pressed. I then decided to recolour the light and add a bit of code so it would flicker like a real lantern. The lantern would also bob up and down in the player's hand. You can't really see the flickering too well in the video, but the object itself at least sways and feels a bit more realistic. So we've got a fairly good basis for the player now. Time to focus on the next most important part of this remake, that level's atmosphere. Sinister would be nothing without the afterlife, the vaguely mechanical, vaguely metropolitan, vaguely nautical mishmash of default Unreal materials. If I'm honest, the levels are quite bare in the original Sinister, but the same won't be true for the remake. I'm going hard into environmental detail. Alright, let's get through this kind of quickly. Here we have a skull, we've got a spike with some skulls on it, we've got a skull with a button in its mouth, we've got a big cog that can spin on the walls, we've got a locked door, spin that around, and there you go, unlocked door. Then next to this we have the key for the door, and then here, barrel, and then over here we've got a mechanical gate, and then here's the elevator. I've done what I tend to do with all my game projects. I turn the default starting level into a sort of art gallery, full of the various bits and bobs I make for the game. Here you can see all the interactive elements, buttons, doors, etc, spinning cogs, and swaying lanterns. I added a cool animation to the locked doors, so you need a key to open them. The way the keys work is on an integer. Each key fits any locked door, but it gets used up after you unlock it. The skull buttons are also universal and can be hooked up to either control the gates or the elevators. Oh, and a cool thing about the elevators, I coded them so they can basically move in any direction. To improve the fairly empty soundscape of the original Sinister, I've put various audio components around which play creaking wood and random crow cawing. The cogs also play constant mechanical whirring sounds. However, this clearly isn't turquoise enough to be Sinister. Let's change that. I altered the sky colour and added a fog volume, which turned the fairly simple scene to be extra ghoulish. I think now we're ready to build the full level. Time to sum up a few days' work in a few seconds. I made a prefab hut and stuck a couple of them down, before making a larger boathouse type building. Then I added some more huts on the other side, and an industrial harbour complex across the water, shrouded by the fog. So how does it all play? You start in a hut here and have to navigate across some rickety beams to open a gate, and then enter the main building from a jetty. From here you need to find a key to access the roof, which lets you take another elevator across to a hut on stilts containing a button which opens a gate on the other side of the main boathouse building. This is all pretty convoluted, so after a few more locked doors and wooden platforms, you can take an elevator across the water, leaving the shantytown behind for a more industrial setting. But there's nothing over there because it's a vertical slice and I don't really want to build any more stuff. Oh, crap, I forgot to add enemies. Alright, where were we? In the original Sinister, there were two enemy types. The first is the Gravedigger, which is a floating skeleton with a shovel. Oh, and by the way, they're kind of loud. The other enemy type is this giant skeleton on wheels called the Equalizer, who is also red. These designs are alright, but for the sake of doing something new, I sneezed a brand new undead skeleton into existence. Behold, the Phantasm, a chain-laden revenant that slithers along on a tail made from an elongated spine. The limbless design means that I don't really have to animate it, which is a weakness of my skill set that I should probably address instead of constantly finding ways to work around. Oh well. After a bit of coding, I came up with this system. Phantasm can go between two patrol points in a level, but if interrupted, they'll chase the player down until they can't find them anymore. When this happens, they'll return to their route. To add a death system, I just had the player return to the start point of the level, along with a spooky widget that flashes up for a split second, and a sound effect. It's all glitched out here though. This situation should be impossible in the actual game. Then it was time to implement the Phantasms into the level. As a finishing touch, I added a death box to the water, and then my vertical slice was officially complete. Let's see how it plays. So there you have it, a far improved version of the original Sinister while keeping the strange atmosphere of the original. If you stayed this far into the video, I recommend subscribing. This is my first attempt at making Gamedev style videos like this, but I plan to make lots more in the future, so stick around if you like that sort of thing. Bye for now.